Hello everybody, welcome to your very favorite Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I'm your co-host, Mike Gallum. As always, I'm joined by...
Michael Dell of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
That's right, and this week it is your pick, so tell us what we're reading.
Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld, number 3.
Good! I was hoping.
No!
Oh!
Nonsense is over. We're going to do The Punisher, issue 3 from 1987.
Nice. Tough. Macho.
Lots of murder and mayhem.
Yeah. All right.
The Punisher.
Yep.
Now, Mike L., you a big Punisher fan?
You know, I never really was, but the Punisher Max series by Garth Ennis, that is one of the best comics I've ever read. One of the best Marvel comics, for sure, I've ever read.
Now, who was the artist there? Is that Dillon fella?
It's actually not Steve Dillon. It's another guy. I don't remember his name. But I did like the Steve Dillon stuff that I read, but this was outside the Marvel Universe, and it was a lot better. They let, what's his name, Garth Ennis kind of like treat him like a real person. Like, I think he aged, in real time, and there was no superheroes or nothing. It was like reading a really good like mafia, book or something.
Yeah, I think Punisher works best when he's not involved in superhero stuff, right?
I agree.
I mean, it's fine with Daredevil because it's street level stuff, but
right.
I don't know.
I agree.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Punisher here. His real name, of course, Frank Castle.
Right.
And
isn't that anglicized?
From what?
It's from it's not Castle. It's Castiglione. Even if you look in Wikipedia, it's Frank Castle.
So.
Born. I mean, I'm probably saying this wrong, but it's Castiglione. Yeah.
Never heard of that in my life.
Yep.
That's Frank Castle to me. All right. So when was his first appearance, Mike? I'm sure you know this by heart. Amazing
Spider-Man number 129.
That is correct, 1974. Yeah. And his creators, I'm sure you can feel this.
Okay, I'm going to go from memory here. Jerry Conway, John Romita Sr.
Yep.
And was there someone else in there?
Ross Andrew.
Ross Andrew. Okay.
But really, it should be Don Pendleton, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yes. I believe I know where you're going with that. Yeah.
Because I am outraged after reading this.
Okay.
Because I had no concept. All right. But basically, his backstory, now I'm sure they've changed it over the years. I don't know. But the backstory I know with the Punisher, Vietnam War vet. Well, I guess they changed that to update it, right? I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah. But he came back to the States. He was having a picnic with his family in the park.
Right.
And there's a mafia turf war going on or something, and his family got gunned down in the crossfire.
Right.
Innocent bystanders. So he became obsessed. He became a vigilante, and he just wanted to take out all criminals everywhere. A one-man war against criminals.
That's right.
Just going nuts. Now, I believe, didn't they years later kind of tweak that a bit so that his family was actually taken out on purpose and not as innocent bystanders?
Yeah, which I don't like as much.
No, that's not good at all. Yeah.
No, yeah, I think and I've also seen the movies, and I believe in the movies he was mixed up with the mafia, and it was like a hit to get back at him or something. I think, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't like any of that. Yeah.
Right.
Well, since you mentioned the movies here, real quick, the first one, Dolph Lundgren, right?
Right.
Did you ever? I've never seen it.
Oh yes, because when I was a little kid. Batman came out, and then a year later, I think, Punisher came out, and I thought, oh, well, this is going to be just as big as Batman. But it didn't even make the theaters. It just went straight to video. So it was pretty bad.
Then they had a second one with, Thomas Jane, right?
Yeah, I liked that one. It was okay.
Never saw it.
It was entertaining.
And I think there's a third one, right?
Yeah, there was a third one with a different actor. I don't remember his name. That one, to me, the actor was not nearly as good, so I just didn't like the movie. And I think that was the one with John Travolta as the bad guy, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yikes.
But I can't remember who the guy was either. I never saw any of them.
Okay.
Then, of course, Punisher has Netflix run. He appeared season 2 of Daredevil. He was great there.
Yes.
I liked season 1 of The Punisher. I thought that was very entertaining. Season 2, I lasted about an episode and a half, and I tapped out. I was like,
I think that goes for all Netflix Marvel shows, and I'm not sure why, but yeah, that's the case. Yep.
Well, I mean, Daredevil was strong throughout.
Daredevil was good. Yeah, season 2 is good, but season 3, again, you watch 2 episodes and you're like, I can't do this. You know?
No, well, I mean, I did it. I had no problem with season 3. I mean, it wasn't as good as the others, but it had Bullseye in it and all that, right? So, I mean, that was fine. But anyway, the guy who played the Punisher in the Netflix, he was great. I thought he was awesome.
And it's funny because, I mean, I liked him in Walking Dead, but I thought, oh, this guy can only play like an unlikable weasel. But then I saw him in, he was good in the Wolf of Wall Street, and then Punisher, he was just incredible. Like, not what you'd think, right? Because like the Thomas Jane Punisher is like kind of what you think of as the Punisher, like this giant, like wrestler type guy. But then you see the guy who played him. What's his name again?
It's like Joe something, right?
we should know this.
I should have Googled that.
Web series? No, I'm looking it up here.
This is the part of the show where we Google things.
Yes. Wait, let me find it. Live action. Starring Joe Bernthal. Yes. He was just awesome. Like, he's not what you expect in that role, but he just knocked it out of the park. Wow, he's the same age as me. Anyway.
I could see you as the Punisher, Michael, right? I mean, you could show up.
Except for the part about being really tough, but yeah.
They'll show you in your battle van reading copies of Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld.
Go. Yep. Shooting rainbows at everybody.
Eating Unicorns. Taco Bell.
Yep.
Bean Gorditos, but they give you beef. And you don't even complain. See, you can't be the Punisher, Michael. We were talking before the show. You didn't even complain they got your Taco Bell order wrong. The Punisher would have got his bean burrito.
That's right. He would have gone up and shot everybody.
That's exactly right. All right, so when the Punisher came into Spider-Man there, Michael, in issue 129, he was a vigilante hired by a supervillain to kill Spider-Man. Who was that villain?
The Jackal.
That's right, the Jackal.
Yep.
Now, is the Jackal still a thing? Like...
I mean, I was disappointed he wasn't in any of the movies or the TV show, but the Jackal, no, I don't think he's really around anymore. I mean, I'm sure he is, but not in any big way.
People probably don't even remember the Jackal. Why don't you, he was just a dude in like a big green costume.
Yeah,
like that.
I think
he kind of looked like, who's the Dr. Seuss fella? The Grinch.
Yeah, you're totally right. Like, yeah, he's just like he basically looks like a naked green man, but his face is like a goblin-esque with like big ears.
Yes.
But I don't know, is it a suit or is he really like that? I don't know.
No, it's a suit, I believe.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah,
okay.
If I'm remembering properly. But wasn't the Jackal, didn't he have a hand in that whole spider clone thing back in the day?
Oh, yes. In fact,
right.
Now that, I mean, again, I know people come to us for the expert, knowledge here, but I believe that he is, like... I believe Professor Miles Warren is the guy who created the clone, but I think the Jackal is Professor Miles Warren, or he's a clone of Professor Miles Warren, or something.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Because I read all those early Spider-Man, but that was years ago. I can't remember.
I don't remember.
But so when Punisher showed up, he was a villain, but then he had a moral code still, and he didn't like the way Jackal's going about things, so he left. And, he didn't kill Spider-Man, thankfully. Right. But I guess they weren't expecting the Punisher to be like some big character. He was just like a throwaway supporting character.
Right.
They had all their money, all their hopes pinned on the Jackal.
Yeah.
They thought he was going to be the guy.
Right.
Not so much. But let's get back into the Punisher's origin here, because I had so you've heard of Don Pendleton, the author?
Well, yeah, because I had a friend years ago, like, when I was growing up, he was a big reader, and he told me all about the Executioner novels and how it was all ripped off of those novels, right?
Yeah, see, I had never heard of this at all until just a couple days ago when I was researching the Punisher. But, so the Punisher, this is straight from the Wikipedia page. I'll just read this little paragraph. The Punisher was created by Jerry Conway, then writer of The Amazing Spider-Man, and he was inspired by The Executioner, a popular book series created by author Don Pendleton, in which a Vietnam veteran, Mac Bolan, becomes a serial killer of criminals after the mafia-related deaths of his family. Conway described the inspiration in an interview from 1987. I was fascinated by the Don Pendleton Executioner character, which was fairly popular at the time, and I wanted to do something that was inspired by that, although not, to my mind, a copy of it. And while I was doing the Jackal storyline, the opportunity came for a character who could be used by the Jackal to make Spider-Man's life miserable. The Punisher seemed to fit, end quote. Yes, Jerry Conway, inspired by, but not a direct copy of. You stole the whole thing.
Yeah, I think
it's not even
the same.
It's ridiculous. Every aspect of this Mac Bolan character, they just stole. They called him the Punisher.
Yep.
It's insane.
Right.
Because this Mac Bolan guy, he also had a war wagon, which became Punisher's battle van.
Right, yep.
And he also maintained a war journal.
Wow, I didn't know about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And basically, he's just, dictating his stories from his war journal, just like they did with the Punisher then. Because then the Punisher got his own war journal series. So if you like the Punisher, they just stole everything from Don Pendleton. Mm-hmm. And they don't even apologize about it. Yeah, Jerry Conway, it was inspired by Mac Bolan. Give me a break. So this Pendleton fella, who I'd never heard of, I guess he's a big writer, but he wrote 37 Executioner books starting in 1968. Mm-hmm. And then he sold the character rights to Gold Eagle publisher in 1980. And they went on to do more than 450 Executioner books with a series of ghostwriters. It's kind of like, it became like the Nancy Drew Hardy Boy. They just bring in a different ghostwriter.
Sure.
So all these pulp novels, just cranking them out. And so 1993, in an interview with Advance Comics, Pendleton had this to say about the Punisher. Quote, "Let's just say the Punisher has taken a lot of liberties with my work. Anyone who knows the history of the Executioner has known that all along. I elected many years ago to just let it pass, feeling that there is room for both of us within this industry." And then later on in the quote, he says, quote, "The way this business works, practically every other major publisher jumped on the bandwagon. Of course, I have no bitterness or sense of loss from any of that. It is the highest form of compliment for a writer to become a standard bearer, and certainly the Executioner has remained in that special place all these years and worldwide," end quote. So what a guy this Pendleton is. Because I'll tell you right now, Michael, I would not be this generous and forgiving.
I'd be pretty pissed myself, yep.
Do you think Mac Bolan would be this forgiving? No.
I don't think
he would
so,
go after him, got him down. Yeah, because it's ridiculous. They just... Now, this interview is in 1993. Sadly, just 2 years later, Pendleton passed away at the age of 68. But and now some people might say, well, wasn't this also just inspired by Death Wish, the Charles Bronson movies?
Sure.
The first Death Wish novel came out in 1972, after Pendleton stuff, and the first Death Wish movie came out in 1974, 8 months after the Punisher made his debut in the pages of Spider-Man. So really, it's clearly Pendleton, and Conway admits Pendleton was the influence.
Right. And the thing is they could have had the Punisher be the Punisher, but without the war wagon, without the war journal, without the mafia hit. He could have tweaked it a little bit, right?
You didn't have to make him a Vietnam vet. You could have made him like a cop or something, or anything, just anything to make it different. Nope. But it's just inspired by. Shut up, Jerry Conway.
Yeah.
You stole the idea. Quit it. Man, good Lord. All right. But I don't... Man, Pendleton, what a guy, though. He should have been suing the hell out of Marvel.
Yep. Absolutely.
And then it gets... we'll talk about something else a little bit later. But getting back to Conway's creation, quote unquote, of the Punisher, he did have the idea for the skull on the costume. But his original sketch just had the skull on the over the left chest, a small logo, and then John Romita Sr. came up and designed the whole costume with the giant skull.
Nice.
I know, because that's iconic, the big skull. And of course, the original Punisher, his outfit, the white gloves, white go-go boots, but he still looked badass, So, yeah, it's perfect. Great costume design.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Conway's original name for the Punisher was the Assassin.
Really?
And Stan Lee said, hey, that's he didn't like it because it had too negative a connotation, the assassin murdering people and all. So he said, hey, how about the Punisher? And because Micah, I believe you mentioned this on the show a few episodes ago, but the Punisher was the name of Galactus's robot.
Right, that's absolutely
his robot
right.
herald, the Punisher. Yep. So Stan Lee remembered that, and he says, hey, how about we use the Punisher for this guy? So they used the Punisher.
It's a great name.
It is.
So
It
cool.
really is. Yeah.
Yep.
The Punisher. All right, so let's look at the Punisher's publication history here at Marvel. Like we said, his first appearance was Spider-Man 129, 1974. And then later that year, since he was popular, they brought him back. Issues 134 and 135. I can't remember what's going on in those. I think the Tarantula may have been featured in those issues.
Oh, I read all those, yep.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember these were reprinted in Marvel Tales in the late 80s?
I did not. Oh, no.
All with Mike Zeck covers, but we'll get to that later.
Okay. Giant-sized Spider-Man number 4 later that year also had the Punisher in it.
Okay.
Then Marvel Preview number 2, 1975. Now, what was that, Mike? It was like a magazine kind of thing? Is that what it was?
I think so, yeah. I know that the Punisher has a few black and white magazine appearances.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah, okay.
That's one of them. And then also in 1976, the next year, he was in Marvel Super Action 1, and he was on the cover of that. And that's another one of those deals, I think, where it's like a magazine. And one of those issues, I can't remember which one, had an interview with Don Pendleton.
Really?
asking him about his Executioner character. And not once, even though the Punisher was in that issue, on the cover of the book, they have an interview with Don Pendleton, and it's about his Executioner character. Not once do they mention the Punisher in that interview.
Wow, that's hilarious.
So, good Lord. All right, then Punisher, he was popular with the Spider-Man readers. So they brought him back in 1976 in issues 161 and 162. And then in 1977, they brought him back for issues 174 and 175. But then his next appearance wasn't until 1980, so he was gone there for a few years.
That's
and
shocking.
he popped up in Captain America 241.
Okay.
And then in 1981, the next year, he was back in Spider-Man issues 201 and 202. Also in 1981, he was in Amazing Spider-Man Annual 15.
Okay.
Then in 1982, he appeared in issues 181 to 184 of Daredevil, and I think that's where he really started getting traction.
Right.
Because
Frank Miller.
Frank Miller brought him back, and Daredevil and the Punisher are the perfect foils. You know, it's perfect. So he started getting more popular there. Then in 1983. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, issues 78 to 83. He appeared in all those.
Oh yes, yep, I remember that. Oh, that's where he shot someone for running through a red light.
I don't know. I didn't read any of them. I know Cloak and Dagger is involved in those issues because I saw the covers. But does that ring any bells? Cloak and Dagger?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because basically. Cloak and Dagger, I kind of didn't know this, but Cloak and Dagger, they're obsessed with fighting drug dealers because they were created out of experiments with drug dealers. And so, yeah, that whole storyline was kind of like the triangle of Spider-Man, Punisher, and Cloak and Dagger chasing after the same people. So it was a pretty cool storyline.
All right, so that final appearance there in Spectacular Spider-Man was 1983. We won't see the Punisher again until 1986.
Wow.
When he gets his limited series. 5-issue limited series, and it was written by, well, I say 5-issue limited series, but they seem to be confused about that at Marvel, whether it was 4 or 5.
Yes.
Because issue 1, it says issue 1 in a 4-issue limited series, and then I guess the writer Stephen Grant, he let them know, hey, it's a 5-issue limited series, so they fixed it for issue 2. And it said issue 2 in a 5-issue limited series, but then it went back to on issue 3. The production people forgot. And it went back to being issue 3 of a 4-issue limited series. And then issue 4, it said issue 4 of a 4-issue limited series. Then they fixed it then in issue 5. Because Steve Grant said this is going to be hilarious if it's, issue 5 in a 4-issue limited series.
Right.
They figured it out. But I guess the problem was back then no one did 5-issue limited series. It was always 4. So the production people were just so used to putting 4 on, they just kept forgetting.
But there's also, I know that the first 4 issues were drawn by Mike Zeck, but I think the 5th issue was not, right?
Yes. The 5th issue wasn't even written by Stephen Grant, which is weird.
Oh, there's got to be something going on there then, yeah.
Mary Jo Duffy wrote issue 5, and Mike Vosberg did the pencils. Well, apparently the reason Zeck couldn't do the art was they had always envisioned it as a 5-issue series. That was always the plan. But I guess one of maybe the first issue was kind of like a double-sized issue, and then Zek had to do some recoloring on some of it, he said, or something. So he fell behind schedule. So when it came to do issue, you could see his art kind of tail off as the series went along because he was losing. He didn't have time, and he just didn't have time to do it. So they got Vosberg. They called him in to do issue 5.
That's too bad.
Yeah, but I guess I don't know why Grant wouldn't write issue 5 though.
You sure he didn't?
Everything's credited to Mary Jo Duffy.
Yeah, you're right. Wow, that is really weird. Yeah, it kind of taints it because, Mike Zeck is one of my favorite artists, and, Stephen Grant's a solid writer, so it's just too bad they couldn't complete it.
And Grant deserves all the credit for, I guess, getting this series made because, like I said, there was a 3-year gap there between The Punisher not being in the books. And he was a young guy who broke into Marvel, and he was pitching ideas, and he wanted to do something with The Punisher. He kept pitching The Punisher, and no one wanted to do it. And then after Zeck did Secret Wars, his profile went up at Marvel, he kind of, and I guess at the time, editors were looking to put together creative teams of a writer and an artist. And an editor by the name of Carl Potts came in, and he wanted to put together Grant and Zeck as a team. And Grant pitched the Punisher idea, and Potts agreed to do it. He said he could do it, but the Marvel management did not want to do it.
Really?
And they told Potts, hey, this is on you. If it fails, it's your fault. We're going to take it out on you.
Right.
But Potts went ahead with it, and look at that. The rest is history.
So when you say management, do you mean Jim Shooter?
That's all it said in the article is management. So I'm guessing it has to be Shooter, right?
Right, yeah. I mean, it could have been like Mark Grenwald or whoever else was in there, because he was also high up. But anyway, yeah.
But I guess because the Punisher is different than others. He wasn't, like we said, he wasn't a classic superhero. He was just a dude with guns. Right. And he had no problem with killing people.
Right.
And that was also pretty taboo back in the day, like before the Punisher. And he used real guns, machine guns. Usually before the Punisher, if people had guns, they'd be like high-tech Jack Kirby kind of guns. You know what I mean? They wouldn't be actual M16s or Uzis or something. Yeah. So he brought a realism to comics that wasn't there before, and I guess that made management nervous, maybe.
Right.
But things were changing in '86, because that was also the Dark Knight, right? And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Watchmen, you're right. So it was kind of part of that trend, but it also, Punisher and Wolverine definitely also helped create that trend, right?
Yeah, Wolverine was also a big one. Yep.
Yeah.
And Conan, I guess. Remember we looked into Conan when he came in.
That's true.
But I'd say Wolverine, Punisher, Dark Knight, Watchmen, Daredevil as well, because when Miller's run on Daredevil was kind of gritty. There you go. But so that's the publication history there of our buddy, the Punisher. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about that limited series. But so it's all Stephen Grant and Carl Potts responsible for getting the Punisher back in the headlines. And then the regular series premiered in 1987, and that's what we're reading here today. Sweet. And it ran for 104 issues.
Awesome.
And I read there's a good story or article out there called Untold Truth of the Punisher, written by Chris Sims. And you can just Google that, you can find it. But he goes through the Punisher's history and everything. And from that article, here's a little bit of info. He says, all told, there were about 26 different Punisher series or one-shots published between 1990 and 1995. So in that 5-year span, they had 26 different titles of the Punisher.
Wow. That's insane.
They were trying to cash in as much as they could. So it totaled 343 individual issues.
Wow.
And there were 3 book-length original graphic novels.
Yeah, I remember those.
For comparison, that's how many issues of Amazing Spider-Man were published from 1963 until 1991. So think of that.
Oh, it's funny. And the sad thing is all of them were canceled by 94, right?
Yeah, this was from 90 to 95. So shortly after that, they all... Okay. The Punisher, he was like a nothing character, then he got popular, hugely popular, and then he just fell off a cliff by the end of the 90s. And then he kind of got reborn again with... they point to that Steve Dillon, that series he did.
Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like revitalizing him again.
Now,
I'm sorry, Michael. There's also a series in that lull when he wasn't popular. I think it was Punisher 2099 or something where he was a ghost. Do you remember
Wait,
this?
no, there's two. There's Punisher 2099, but there's also, I think it's Frankencastle, right? Where he's fighting ghosts.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, 2099, he wasn't the ghost. That was like, yeah, I remember that now. But yeah, he had like, he'd pull out magical machine guns and kill ghosts with his ghostly machine guns. And
that was like the first reboot because Marvel had their line, the Marvel Knights, and that was they're like, oh, now we're gonna, we did Daredevil, we did whoever, now we're gonna do the Punisher.
Yes, that was Marvel Knights. Yep,
right.
That's what.
And they
that's
totally
what it was part
effed
of.
it up. Yeah.
Yep.
And
if I'm remembering, Bernie Wrightson was the artist.
Ooh, right? Really?
I think.
Huh. Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now, but I can't find it. It wasn't called Frankencastle, it was something else, but I'll let you know if I see it.
Yeah, so hugely popular, then he tanked, and then he got revitalized. But yeah, from 90 to 95, so much Punisher out on the newsstands. Because what are some of the other series? You had the Punisher War Journal, that started up.
Then Punisher Warzone.
Oh, that's right, Warzone.
Yep.
There was even a title, Punisher Armory, where it was just pictures of guns, and he would talk about them, like his diary entries about the guns.
That's right.
That was the whole series. No plot, no action, just pictures of guns, and the Punisher talking about them.
Yep, and people ate it up, eh?
Yeah,
wow.
It's crazy. So, all right, there's your background on the Punisher. I think anything else you'd like to mention about the Punisher?
Only that I found that page, if you'd like me to read it, from Spectacular Spider-Man number 82. Okay, so we see Punisher hiding behind like a brick wall. A car... this is what it is. A guy is in a taxi cab, or I think it's the taxi cab driver. He takes a newspaper and he throws it towards a garbage bin, but it misses. And this is the Punisher. Littering is a crime against society. He starts shooting. Run, honey, run! A cab is driving by. Gunshots. The cab is driving. The cab goes through a red light. Punisher. The light is red. And that cabbie is plowing right through it. Another crime. He shoots him too. It's outrageous. But I guess later on this was explained saying that the Punisher was on drugs or something. But this is the real deal. This actually happened.
Well, I think they probably said he was drugged, not that he was on drugs. Like, you know what I mean?
No, yeah, you could be right. Yeah, he was drugged.
Like someone did it to him, not like on weekends he just did it himself.
You're right. Yeah, no, you're totally right because the comments say, yes, this was explained away later by claiming he was on some drug that a villain gave him. Maybe it was the villain. Jackal, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably the Jackal, that son of a bitch. Yep. Jackal. All right. So here we go. The Punisher, issue 3 from 1987. Let's look at the cover here, Michael. 75 cents.
So we're going to talk about the creators later?
Yeah, we'll get into them later.
All right. So yeah, we got... This is,
but it's,
again...
we mentioned their names, right? Mike Baron is the writer. And,
yes.
And Klaus Janssen is the artist.
Klaus Janssen, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got... This is my era now. This is when I was getting into comics. So we got the Marvel logo with the thick lettering. We got the corner box with Punisher with his gun up and his big skull.
That's a great shot. I love that shot of the Punisher.
Yeah, iconic. Yeah. 75 cents in the U.S., 95 cents in Canada.
Fuck you, Canada.
Oh, and don't forget 40 pounds in the U.K. below that. Yeah. We got the awesome Punisher logo. Like, what a great logo, eh?
Yeah.
I love it. Anyway, and then we got Punisher. So we got Punisher in the foreground. And he's driving a truck, and he's pointing his gun with his left hand out of the car.
That's his right hand, Michael.
Oh, that's his right hand. Yeah. Driving with his left hand, pointing with his right hand. And he's pointing it out of his window, but there are these two guys, and one is pointing an Uzi at him, and the other one is throwing a grenade at him. Yep. And the grenade's coming right in the window of Punisher's truck. It's pretty awesome. It's a pretty cool cover.
Yeah, it's great.
Yep.
Yeah, this, of course, is Klaus Janssen. Yep,
and again, this is, no dialogue, no text, nothing. Just an image, which is very cool.
Yeah. Because, again, this is 87. Were they even putting dialogue on covers in 87?
Not as much, no.
Yeah.
No. He's getting out of style.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Because, like, in the 70s, this would have, like, a word balloon, and one of the guys saying, hey, you suck, Punisher. I don't know.
yeah, exactly. Or there'd be a pun. Yeah, there'd be some stupid pun.
Eat lead, chump.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I don't know. All right. So let's get to the story.
So here we go. So inside, we open up with a scene where basically Frank Castle is pretending to be a guy named Mr. Groich.
Yeah, Groich. I don't know how you say it, but
yeah, it's Groetschsch.
Yeah, they could have picked an easier name.
Yeah. But it comes into play later, kind of.
Does it? Right.
So anyway, so he's pretending to be this Mr. Groich, and he's looking into buying real estate, right?
Yeah, he wants to buy a house.
Right. So,
because the premise here is that the Punisher, he had where was he? Bolivia, I guess. He had a mission down in Bolivia in the first 2 issues, and he's kind of tired. He's kind of burned out. He wants to just live a normal life. Just wants to not officially retire, but just get away from it. Just live like a normal dude. Yep.
Right. And then coincidentally, as he's in this office on this like city street, and like the real estate agent or whatever he is going through some files, he looks across the street just as a bank robbery is starting.
Yep.
So this car pulls up, 3 guys get out, and he's like, huh, that's kind of fishy. So he walks outside and then quickly changes into the Punisher, because in the next page he's already in his costume and he's got his gun.
Yeah, he says it only takes like 60 seconds, I think he says. Yeah, because he's got his battle van out front.
Right. So then he's kind of waiting for the guys to come out, and then just at that moment, a mother and his son walk out. And the kid is like, Mommy, that man has guns. Get inside, man. There's a bank robbery in progress. Call the police. So then he's waiting for the police to come. And then the storytelling gets a little bit confusing here, because we see his face, we see the purple car, then we see the robbers coming out. I mean, but they're facing the bank, but you'd think they'd be maybe facing away and turning around, so it's a little bit awkward. But anyway.
Yeah, so I can see what you're saying. Like the guy's walking down the steps backwards.
Yeah. It's like they're all walking backwards. So then they walk out. And then again, we'll talk about Klaus Janssen later. He's a great inker. He's an okay artist, but some of these panels are awkward. So we see them getting into the car. Then just at that moment, is it? Oh yeah, it's a cop car that pulls up. Cop gets out, and then he gets shot. Now the Punisher's mad, right?
Yeah.
So then we see, oh hell, they've got automatics. So have I. And then it says the devil came from Kansas. And then he unloads his guns. Thought I'd left this sort of thing behind me. I mean, hey, it's only number 3. And then, you know.
But let's just be clear, the devil came from Kansas is the title of the issue.
Yes, sorry. Yeah. It's the title, and it's kind of cool because it's not in typical comic book, like, 3D lettering. It's just in normal font, but in red. It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
anyway.
but that shot beneath it of the Punisher opening up with the Uzi, that's great.
Yeah, it's good. Yep, it's good. This is good stuff. And then so then the real estate guy comes out. There's a gunfight going on. There's people shooting everywhere. This guy just wanders out of his office. Yeah,
Mr. Groich, I forgot.
Yeah, yeah, like several guns have been fired, but somehow this guy didn't hear it. So then the cars...
the bullets are bouncing off his van. Look, even as Groich is talking to him, there's bullets bouncing everywhere.
And then Punisher's like, get down. And then we get a really awkward panel where the car's driving away, the cop car's in the middle of the street, and then we see the cop laying on the ground, but it looks like I drew it in like grade 5, But anyway. So the car's driving away, and then Punisher's like... it's funny because he tells the guy, he's like, now listen very carefully. I'm going after them. Tell the cops, the blue van, I'm on their side. Understand? Yes. And he jumps in his van and he speeds away. And all of a sudden, they're in the country. Like, I assume... Yeah. I don't know where they were, if they were in New York or whatever, but all of a sudden...
Well, they were they were in a... where did he say? Shoot. They said at the beginning, Missouri or somewhere. So it is like like he's trying to get off the beaten path.
Okay.
So it is like a smaller town kind of place, yeah.
Okay. So he's driving along and he's listening in on the police radio, and then he's trying to explain to them, attention police, this is the blue van in pursuit of the bank robbers. I'm not one of them. Repeat, I'm not one of them. So the police come up behind him, and then so they're pulling up behind them, but then so this is a different van now, right? A different or a red truck.
Yeah.
Another truck comes up, pulls up next to the cops, and throws a grenade into the cop car. And then we see the cops looking down all shocked, and then the next page we see the cop car blow up. So then that same red truck pulls up next to the Punisher, and we see it's got 2 guys in the front and 1 guy in the back, and this is basically the cover now. So then they start shooting their guns at Punisher, and he's like, surprise, bulletproof glass. This is all narration, right? First person narration. Let's see who's got the tougher truck. So then they try to ram into the side of his battle van, but they just, go skidding off the road and flip over, and they're pretty much down for the count. And then Punisher's like, well, usually I go back for them, but I gotta keep chasing these guys here. So yeah, he keeps going after them, and then what happens here? But who blows up here?
Well, yeah, he rides them off the road and they crash.
Oh, so that's them.
No.
Okay.
They shoot down a tree to block his way.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
You know the procedure, right? So then they blow. Yeah. So then we see a tree blocking Punisher's path. So yeah, it's kind of like skips ahead because all of a sudden he's parked and now he's out.
Yeah, he gets out of his van to stand looking at the tree with his hands on his hips.
Right. Kind of an awkward pose too.
And then so a guy shoots at him. And it hits the battle van glass, and he's like, "Oh, it looks like I've forgotten everything," because he forgot to protect himself in a gunfight.
Right.
That happens a lot in issue where the Punisher just makes unforgivable mistakes.
Right. Yeah. So basically, he figures out. Okay, he's like, it's a sniper. So the sniper's using a silencer. I hope it's giving out. My best shot is to spot the muzzle flash. Use the door for cover. Oh yeah, so he throws a rock at a tree. So then the sniper shoots the tree. So then now he's hiding behind like the door of his van, right? And then
because he wanted to see the muzzle flash to tell where the sniper is.
Right. So he sees the sniper up in a tree, and then he's got this. What is this called?
Well, it takes him 10 minutes to work himself into position.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So the next panel, we see him. He what's the word? He outflanked them. He went wide and came in behind the sniper, and now he's hiding behind the sniper. Right. And he's got a blow dart, like a little, like a straw.
Right. And so then he blows a dart, and then it hits the guy and knocks him down.
Yeah, and falls out of the tree.
Yeah, he lands on his head. And then and then the Punisher he sticks his gun right in his face, and the guy's like, "My leg, I think it's broken." So then the next page, the Punisher puts his boot right on the guy's leg. He's like, "Ah!" He's screaming. I said, "Who's the Colonel?"
I think this panel is a little confusing. Like when I first read it, because at the top you have big red letters. And you see the gun right under his jaw. And I'm like, wait, did he shoot him in the head?
Right.
What's going on? But then if you look in the bottom right of the panel, his foot is there stepping on the guy's leg.
Klaus Janson may have been working in the industry for 10 years at this point, but his anatomy is pretty terrible.
Yeah, but it's here's the thing about his anatomy and his style. It's consistent in what it is, It's not like it's style, I would say, more than just not knowing anatomy. Always sharp edges, a lot of line work, but kind of almost blocky and flat. Right. Sometimes the people look, but it's consistent and it is what it is. You either like it or I like it actually.
Well, here's the thing. If you want to talk about tone or mood, he is the guy, right? Because he was inking Frank Miller on Daredevil, right? He later on inked John Romita Jr. So if you want to talk about gritty comics, he's definitely the guy for that. So I'll give you that for sure.
Yeah. But there are some holes in maybe the panel-to-panel storytelling.
Yes, for sure.
But, yeah.
So, so here we get... So then we get the guy's motivation. He's like, who are you and why do you rob banks? He's like, we're the army of the new American Revolution. This country was founded by white Christians, and unless white Christians stand together, this country will collapse. That was a Jew bank we robbed. We robbed banks to finance the new American Revolution.
Wow, it's like they just took your Facebook page and brought it into a comic book.
Copy and paste.
So yeah, the Punisher, he's got the gun on the guy, and he says, all right, my white Christian friend, where can I find Colonel Fryer? Mm-hmm. And they named him Fryer just so they could do a really bad pun at the end of the book, right?
Right.
But then he hears an airplane overhead, and but the guy tells him he's got that Fryer's got a real estate office on Main Street in Sherrill, Kansas, and at the moment they're in Marion, Missouri. That's where they're at.
Okay.
Marion, Missouri.
There you go.
So then he hears a plane overhead, and he's like, uh-oh. Well, the guy says, hey, aren't you going to help me out with my broken leg? And he's like, I'll send somebody.
Yep.
And he just leaves him.
Someone just walks away. I love that.
But he's concerned that they're going to like make his van, and that they'll. So what does he do, Michael? He just blows up his van.
Yep. Gets in his motorcycle, drives away, and blows up his van.
$500,000 is going to cost him.
Yep.
But he doesn't care. Oh, because there is a great line at the beginning when he's looking for houses. Like he said, he loaded up his van with $200,000, and he wanted to make a peaceful life for himself in Marion, Missouri. And he goes, "Oh, the money was donated by recently deceased individuals."
Right, so right. Yeah, that's great. I love that.
It was good. Oh yeah, we should say the narration here. It's all Punisher narrating it.
Right,
first person.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely, and that really makes it. We'll talk about that later. But
yes.
It really makes it. Yeah. So
again, it's Pendleton's war journal.
Yes.
Boland's war journal.
100%. Yep. So then he pitches. He camps out for the night, and he's basically just chilling. And then there's kind of a joke here where he hears a snap and then freeze, and it's just a raccoon, right?
Yeah, it's just a raccoon.
That's kind of cool. And then he's like, he's got the, criminals are my life. I've conditioned myself to react. My compulsion is stronger than my will to live. Can I quit? Do I want to? And then that's when he sees the raccoon. So it's kind of cool. So then, so now he's going to do some detective work, right? So now he goes...
Yeah, he shows up in Kansas at that Friar's real estate office.
Right. And he's still using that name, Arnold Groach, or whatever it is, Groach. And then he's meeting this guy, Joseph Fryer. And basically they start chatting it up, and he's like, I represent... I gotta zoom in here. Is it Fordham Industries? We prepare specialty vehicles, federalizing, imported exotics, bulletproofing, and so forth. And so this guy brings him out. He takes him into his car and he drives him out to. What is this? It's a.
Yeah, because that's what Punisher's saying. He needs to see like a warehouse or some sort of a shipping and receiving location.
Right.
Because he's going to do a lot of importing. And then the guy asked him what he's importing. He's like, we do specialized bulletproofing for vehicles and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yep. So then they're driving out and they're just chatting it up, and and so Punisher starts dropping hints, right, about the white supremacist thing. So he's like,
yeah, because if you're not. This Fryer guy, he's bald and he's got a mustache. He's smoking a cigar, and he hates Jews. Yep. Holy hell, does this guy hate Jews? Yeah. Every other page, he's just saying stuff about Jews.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, if you were speaking of the mongrelization of this great nation, I have a very good idea. Now, I don't know if is that Punisher talking, because Punisher's playing along, right?
Yeah. Punisher's kind of like playing into it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, this country's being mugged into mediocrity by blacks, Puerto Ricans, and Mexicans. It's worse than that, Arnold. What about the Jews? Judaism isn't a race, it's a religion. That's what they want you to think, right?
Well, the weird thing is, like, if you look at the dialogue there on that page, like, every balloon, Joe, you could be, and then the next, it's like, Arnold, have you heard of the New American Revolution? Joe, I believe I have. And then they get back, Arnold, what if I were to tell you? It's like, all right, we don't need to hear their name every 5 seconds.
Yeah. So then they're kind of going back and forth, and again, Punisher's playing along, and he's like, Joe, I believe I have it. So he's like, Arnold, have you heard of the New American Revolution? Joe, I believe I have. It's a shadowy, patriotic organization. He's like, Arnold, what if I were to tell you that I was involved in the New American Revolution? Punisher, I would believe you. I might even believe you were behind that bank robbery in Marion, Missouri yesterday. And he pulls a gun on him, and then what's his name? Is so shocked that he loses his stogie, right?
Yeah, I love that. They do that a lot, like in comic books, or so surprised, and you just see the cigarette or the cigar in the air. I love it. Yeah. But yeah, so Punisher's holding him at gunpoint, and he's like, "Hey, what are you, the FBI? Ever hear of the Punisher?" Dun, dun, dun.
Yep. And then
Arnold asks him if you're from the Trust, and for those who don't remember, the Trust was the organization that had hired the Punisher to be their like vigilante hero in the limited series. And And then by the end, he turned on the trust because he found out they were crooked or whatever. So
nice. So then he's like, "You're a Jew, aren't you? You look like a Jew." "I'm not a Jew. I represent myself." So then the guy's goons come out and they pull their guns on the Punisher. So now the Punisher's stuck, right?
Yeah, and
so
again,
now,
the Punisher makes a potentially deadly mistake. And right. in his narration, he says, "Stupid of me to expect to take him so easily. I was going to scare him, make him give up the money." Like, he makes at least 3 critical errors in this book that he should be dead. And I don't know. But anyway.
So then, again, we talk about confusing storytelling. I'm not sure exactly what happens here. Okay?
Yeah, this is... Well, in the previous pages, they were Arnold, or the Friar, the big racist Jew hater, he told the Punisher to be careful because there's a lot of rattlesnakes out here.
Right.
Got to be careful. Look where out you're stepping. They'll bite you. They'll bite you. So they tell the Punisher to throw his gun down, and he like chucks it, and it goes bouncing on the ground to a certain spot. And when the other gunman says, "Oh, cute. Well, cute. We'll ventilate him if he moves," and he goes to bend down to pick up the gun, and here, a bunch of snakes just jump out and start biting.
Right.
What?
A little bit. Yeah, and the thing is the spot that he threw the gun is right next to where one of the goons is standing. So why did the goons see the snakes, right?
And it's not like, maybe if earlier in the book you point to the part that there were snakes right there on that and under that rock or something, but we never get that. So he's just throwing his gun on the ground, and miraculously 3 snakes jump out and bite this dude. Right.
It's a little ridiculous. Yeah.
Yes. It's very ridiculous.
Yeah. So then the guy's getting attacked by snakes, and then Punisher's like, I rip hell out of my leg muscles. Friar takes off with the measured gait of an aging athlete. I put some pills into the Colonel's boy to keep him from wandering around while the Colonel and I talk real estate. I love this.
Yeah, putting pills in it means he shot him in the leg.
Right. So then one of the guys gets shot, and then Punisher reaches down and grabs his... That's an Uzi, right? Yeah. And then he cocks it, and he's like... And then he's going after the Friar. And
he also does a Superman thing. He doesn't need a phone booth. He just strips, and he's got his Punisher outfit
on.
That's
right. Yeah.
So now he's the Punisher.
Yep.
Dun, dun, dun.
So then he starts getting shot at because Friar still has a gun. So then the guy... Oh, yeah, so then he tries to hide behind some rocks, but Friar throws a grenade at him. Punisher runs out of the way. And then, he's like, "My shoulder's on fire, but I have to keep moving. He'll be down to see if he got me." And then he turns around. "I'm out. So then he starts shooting. "I'm out. I should have grabbed another clip. I screwed up." Is that the 3rd or 4th time he screwed up?
That's the 3rd, I believe, because you had the thing where getting the guys coming up behind him, taking him out. This, and then what was the first one? Standing by, admiring the fallen tree.
Right. So then I love this bit. He's like, "I'm out. I should have grabbed another clip. I screwed up." Then Friar's like, "You screwed up, Punisher. You should have grabbed another clip." I love that. So then he's standing there.
That's a great shot of the racist Jew hater guy at the bottom, though.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like the mechanic in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Remember
that guy? You could say that, yep.
Pushed in the propeller or whatever. Yeah.
Yep, and then he's like, "Punisher, eh? Who are you really? Mossad, Jewish Defense League, FBI, Groch? That's German, isn't it? But it could just as well be Jewish, So, yeah. So then they're going back and forth here. And he's like, "I'm just a guy who takes out criminals, and you're just a criminal." And then they're going back and forth. And then basically... so then this is one of those things where the guy could have killed him. And he's like... He's like, "Colonel, the way you feel about those people, that's the way I feel about criminals." "Well, Grochberg, I don't expect you to understand. I expect you to die." So then he takes out a grenade and throws it at the Punisher. But somehow the Punisher manages to elude it. But
he catches shrapnel in the thigh.
Right, yeah. So now he's down. And then now, what's his name? Friar's still chasing after him. But he manages to make his way to a, what is this thing called? Just like
he calls it a caterpillar, but it's a little what is that?
It's like a scavenger from the Constructicons. He was one of those.
Yeah, I know, I can't think of the word.
Yeah, excavator? Is
bulldozer.
Excavator? Oh, okay, bulldozer, yeah. So he crawls under the bulldozer, and he uses his knife to puncture the gas tank of this thing. And then on the next page, he rips off the. This is cool. He rips off the headlight and uses it as a cup to collect some of the gasoline.
Yeah, he uses his knife then to cut out the glass of the headlight, and he fills it up with the gasoline.
Right.
And so even though he took a grenade shrapnel into the leg, he got a huge head start on this guy, because, I mean, that guy's still running in the background chasing him, but Punisher's been like monkeying around with this bulldozer for a good 30 seconds to a minute.
Right.
And, anyway.
So then the guy catches up and he's like, "You're not out of gas already, are you, Grochberg?" And he's like, "I try to keep the cat between us as I run." So he's running and he's like drizzling gasoline as he walks.
Yeah, then, when he says cat, he's referring to like Caterpillar bulldozer.
The Caterpillar, right. Yeah. So then the Friar's like, "I think we've wasted enough time. Stop right there. Make it easy on yourself." And Punisher turns around. "Wait, maybe we can strike a deal." "Well, isn't that just like a Jew?" What? I can't believe this isn't a 1987 Marvel comic. But whatever.
It's amazing.
Yep.
Isn't that just
so then he's
like a Jew?
He's like, "What have you got?" "Gold. A gold-plated lighter." And then he's like, "What?" Shocked look. And then he lights up. I don't know how this guy did not see the gasoline being like drizzled out, but whatever. Okay.
And keep in mind, this guy's holding a gun at the time. Like, the minute he puts that lighter to the gas, he could just open up and kill the Punisher with his gun. Bullets are faster than fire on gasoline. But
apparently. So, okay, this is weird. So then he lights the fire up, big explosion. Then the Punisher says, "Now he's a real colonel, a southern fried colonel. They say those friars cook up best. I like mine extra crispy." And then I'm thinking, oh, cool. Now how's the story going to end? And then it just says, "Next issue on sale by August 11th.
Yeah, that's how it ends, Michael. Just right there. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah, it's very weird. Because I expected to be like on the next page, you'd see Castle like standing there thinking about his life and how, you know, he can't be he's not a normal man. He can't live a normal life. He's the Punisher.
Right.
You know? And like you think that would be the last panel. "I am now and forever the Punisher." One of them deals. Nope. Just a big panel of the dude being set on fire, and that's it.
Yeah, very weird.
Yeah. I don't know. All right, so the writer here is Mike Baron. Mike Baron. I think I called him Rich last week when I was previewing this.
Okay.
But Mike Baron. I had no history of Mike Baron. When I was a kid, though, I bought this Punisher series. Like, I had all these.
Cool.
And I had all the war journal, like at least the first like 12 probably war journals, and all that stuff. But Mike Baron, he was born in 1949, and that's about all I got on him.
Well, can I tell you my experience with Mike Baron?
Well, let me just say this. He did 61 of the first 63 Punisher issues.
Okay.
So he was on here for a very long time. He also did 14 issues of Punisher Word Journal from 90 to 91. And then he brought the Flash back, Michael.
That's right.
Volume 2 of the Flash, issues 1 through 14, 1987, 88.
Yeah.
He's also known for creating a character named Badger.
Yes.
Did you ever read the Badger?
Actually, no, I didn't.
And he also created Nexus.
That's right.
And I don't know much about Nexus. I'm sure you can tell the kids about the Nexus. And he also did some Star Wars stuff for Dark Horse. He did a bunch of stuff, but like probably his most famous is Punisher and Flash.
And Nexus, yeah.
Yeah, like, in Nexus.
The thing about Nexus is it's one of those ones. It's like it's an independent comic. It's everybody loves it. Everybody raves about it. And I'm a big fan of the artist Steve Rude. Do you know Steve Rude?
I know Rick Rude.
No relation. Steve Rude is a Jack Kirby-esque artist. Okay, so he's got that style, and everyone raves about Nexus. And I've tried to read it several times, and I could not get into it. It's a little bit of science fiction, a little bit of fantasy. You know, the art's great, but I just could never get into the stories. Mike Baron's Flash run is known as kind of like the boring era before better writers take over.
Oh, no.
But I actually was pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed this.
I guess that Nexus, he won like an Eisner Award for it and stuff back in the day. And so you enjoyed the Flash run? No, I enjoyed Punisher. Okay. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like you were saying everyone thinks it's dull, but I enjoyed it.
I've read maybe one issue, and I don't remember really liking it. So.
All right. Can you think of anything else he did memorable?
No, that's kind of mostly what I know him from. Yeah, like, Badger, Nexus. That's, he did. I mean, he did Deadman in Action Comics. Yeah,
I did see that. Yes.
He did like a couple issues of Batman, which I'm sure they were fine. But
he did some Action Comics.
Right.
I remember in the 600s, in the early 600s.
Yeah.
So there's Mike Baron. So what do you think about his rating here?
So here's the thing. We talked about this weird kind of lapses in logic as far as the Punisher's actions, right?
Yes.
And then there's kind of some plot convenience at the beginning with the bank robbery happening right across the street. And the ending just, literally, they just run out of pages, right?
Yes.
But
and the snakes just jumping out of
Right, yeah. But here's the thing, though, and I don't know if it's just... Well, no, it's the writing, too. Like, I enjoyed it when I was reading it. And it's like we said, it's probably because of the narration. It just makes it gives it a completely different vibe from a typical comic, right?
Yeah, especially in this era. Well, I guess, I don't know, Dark Knight was doing this too, though, right? Wasn't he doing that kind of narration? But it's like an old pulp novel, film noir movie, the old Private Eye talking over. So, yeah, it's a great voice for the Punisher, a great way to tell the story. There's just so many weird things, like you mentioned, like inconsistencies in the characterization and the plot logic. And it's not great.
Right.
But the voice for the character in the narration is great.
Yes.
Like how to tell the story.
Yep.
It has a nice feel to it, a distinctive, like you read this, you're reading a Punisher book.
Absolutely,
so, I really like that. But yeah, that ending is just, I don't know.
Right, like, and you think the editor would be like, look, you got to add one more page, come on, do something.
I also think, now this is probably, maybe they couldn't, if they ran out of pages to tell this story, they probably wouldn't be able to do this version I'm suggesting. But I almost would have liked it better if Punisher is trying to purposely avoid getting involved in anything.
Yes.
But it just keeps hunting him down. He keeps crossing paths with things that are going wrong, and eventually he's forced to come back to being the Punisher. Instead of, there's 3 dudes walking in a bank. Yeah. They might be bank robbers. Let me get in my battle van. Like he's very eager to stop that bank. It'd been better if he was very reluctant to get involved.
That's a great point. Yep.
So.
I mean, I'm sure you've seen First Blood, right?
You know what? I never did, actually.
Whoa, you should see that. It's a great movie, yes. And I'm not going to spoil it, but one of the key things about his character is he just wants to stay out of trouble. And that's all I'm going to say. And you're totally
that's
right.
What should have done here. I met the guy who wrote First Blood.
Come on, really?
Yeah, Frank Morrell, right?
Wow, I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, he spoke in my writing program, and I went up to him, and there's a break. He was giving his presentation, and there's a break, and I saw him just milling around by the windows. Everyone else was not paying attention. I'm like, I'll go talk to Frank Morrell, because he's from Canada. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I love, he's got to love hockey.
Right.
I'm Mr. Hockey.
Nope.
So I'll go right up to him, and I'll just, boom, start talking about hockey. And I was like, hey, you're from Canada. Hey, you like the hockey? He's like, no, not really. I'm like, what the fuck?
Just like me. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just turned around and sat down.
Wow, that's hilarious.
No. We chatted. He was a real good dude. I liked it. Yeah, I bought one of his book on writing is pretty good too.
Oh, really?
I picked up. I forget what it's called, but I have it. But he one of the things I learned from him was triangulation. When you're trying to describe something, don't just describe it one way. Try to use 3 senses. Like give it the sight, the sound, the taste, the feel. Like try to triangulate on that description. Give more than just one perspective on the description to really bring it to life.
That's interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised that after all that, you never went and saw the movie First Blood.
Yeah, I never went. I never saw that first one. No, I mean, I saw the second one when I was a kid. Everyone loved Rambo.
Right.
That one, but. Yeah. All right, so there it is. Mike Baron, the artist here, Klaus Janssen. Now, we've talked about him before in the show. I'm sure when we were talking about John Romita. With the Daredevil. Remember that Christmas issue?
That's right, yep.
Yeah, because he did the inking there. And that was peak Janssen Romita Jr.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, wait, no, that was Al Williamson, wasn't it?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
however, if you Google Punisher Warzone, that is John Romita Jr. with Klaus Janson.
Yeah. So when did we talk Klaus Janson? I was thinking but he had to do. He did Romita Jr. and Janson did Daredevil. Was Was it Born Again? Or no. What was the year one or whatever? What did they call it?
Yeah. What was it called?
Man Without Fear.
Man Without Fear. That's right. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So when did we talk Janssen on here? I know we did.
That's a good question. I really don't know.
Well, I think I remember one time because we'll get to here in a second. But anyway, Klaus Janssen was born in 1952 in Coburg, Germany. And he moved to Connecticut with his family in 1957 when he was a little kid. He was an assistant with Dick Giordano in the early 1970s. And his first published work was in Jungle Action 6, 1973.
Really? Oh, by the way, you might have talked about Klaus Janssen when you reviewed Defenders number 35.
That's what I was going to mention, because the next line here in my notes, his first big gig was inking Sal Buscema in the Defenders, and I definitely think he inked the issue we did.
Yep, he did, because I see it on a website called comicbooksyndicate.com. Yeah, I'm looking at your article. That's how I know. Anyway.
There you go. Right. Yeah. He inked 73 consecutive issues of Daredevil from 1975 to 1983. And during that time, he was working with Frank Miller. And Daredevil originally started out as bi-monthly. You know, it wasn't that popular.
That's right.
But then Wake Up super popular when Miller came on. So they made it monthly. And Miller had difficulty keeping up with writing and drawing the book. So for a while there, I think with issue 173, Miller just started doing the layouts and the breakdowns, and then Janssen would do the finishing, and then eventually Janssen would do 4 issues all by himself.
Ah, okay.
Complete art. But yeah, he's mostly known as an inker.
Right.
That's where and he drew the first 5 issues of this Punisher series. First 5 issues. But yeah, I mean, Janssen, he's real famous for his work on Daredevil, real famous for Dark Knight, right? Him and Miller.
Yeah.
So he's done a ton of stuff, and he's great.
Yeah, he's definitely I would say he's one of the best inkers in the business, for sure.
Yeah. So, now I'm thinking, did Janssen do Born Again? Or not Born Again,
Man Without Fear.
That was Williamson too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you might be right. I'll have to look it up. Daredevil, Man Without Fear.
So when did Romita do anything with?
It's a good question. Oh, well, Romita, he teamed with Klaus Janson for Punisher Warzone, but you're asking as far as stuff we've done?
Yeah, with Daredevil. And did Janson and Romita ever do anything with Daredevil together?
Maybe they didn't then. I don't know.
Yeah, because I keep thinking, because I'm pretty sure Man Without Fear was Al Williamson. Oh.
I'm Googling it right now.
Yeah.
And stuff is coming up, but I don't know what it's from.
Yeah, it's tough because you'll see his list of credits, but they don't tell you if he's inking or drawing, and it's a lot of stuff. Anyway, he's really good.
Yeah, he's a great inker, yeah.
I guess you would say mostly Frank Miller and him work a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. He suits Frank Miller, yeah.
But I swear he did stuff with... But yeah, Romita Jr. and Williamson is the big team. That's the team.
Yeah, yeah.
And then... All right, anyway. So Klaus Janssen, what else about him? His artwork here, like I said, I like it because there's definitely anatomy issues, and there are some panels where it'll look like, you said, a kid just sketched it out.
Right.
Very sketchy. But then there are other panels, just tremendous. It's definitely a style choice that he's doing, and it's consistent throughout, and I really enjoyed reading it. I thought it was fun to look at.
Well, the key, like I said, he's great at tone, like texture. He's just not great at anatomy. So, ideally for me, if you had someone like John Romita Jr. penciling it, or Frank Miller even, it would be ideal because then someone like a better artist could actually do the anatomy, and then he would just do his inks over top.
Yeah, his figures look blocky and flat, but it's I dig it. I like the way it looks. I really dig it.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So, what else about Klaus? Anything?
No, nothing really. I just, I appreciate, because he makes comic books look like comic books. It doesn't look like a photograph, It looks like it's inked by an inker. Yep. So that's what I like about him.
Yeah, because I'll say this, Mike. When I read newer books, the inking is definitely not like what it used to be.
No,
I would say that.
No. The thing is, like I said, because we reviewed The Dark Knight Returns a few years back, and That's one of the guys said. He's like, I like this because it looks like a comic book. I want it to look like a comic book, you know. And Klaus Janssen's inks are a big part of that. You know, I like even when you're reading, you know, John Romita Jr. stuff. Like, I want it to look like it's drawn by a human. That's why I can't stand these artists that look like they just Photoshop pictures. You know, they'll take a photograph from the internet and just doctor it up a little bit. Like, I think that's garbage.
Yep. And also the coloring these days. I'm not a fan of the coloring either.
No, I know. Like some colors are good, but overall, you're right. I don't like it. Yeah. Like this. Here's the thing: is that, you know, my brother had all these Punishers when I was a kid, and I read some of them. But reading this issue again, it wasn't perfect, but it makes me want to read more.
Yeah, it has a lot of flaws, but it was enjoyable.
Right.
And it had a nice feel to it. Like you said, you felt like you're reading a Punisher book,
right.
Like different than other stuff. And again, I actually enjoyed Janssen's art a lot. So I'll probably give it a 7, even with all the flaws.
Yep, I'm going to give it a 7 as well.
Yeah.
Originally, I was going to give it an 8, but there's too many flaws in the story. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I like the art more than I like the story.
Right.
Yeah. And not much subtlety with the story. It could have been
no.
A little better.
It's like a simulation of a good, you know, like Mickey Spillane novel or something, but at least it's enjoyable, you know. So.
Yeah. So there you go, The Punisher.
Yep.
I was trying to think of other big characters we haven't done yet, and I knew I had the Punisher on my list for a while, so I wanted to get the Punisher out there. But we've hit all the, at least Marvel-wise. I'm trying to think of any other big name books we haven't done yet.
I think the only Marvel one we haven't hit, if you consider this guy big, would be Nick Fury.
Yeah, it's tough though because like his first Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series with Steranko.
Oh, we did that. We did that.
Well, that was in the 60s. We couldn't do it.
Oh.
But you know what? We did that issue of Captain Britain, and they did a reprint of him.
Right. Okay.
So technically we did, but that was a 1970 book, so it counted. So yeah, we have done Nick Fury then.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
Wow, what are we going to do next? We're running out of books here, Michael.
Well, I guess we have to stop the show.
Yeah.
Or we start double. I know West Coast Avengers.
There you go.
Son of Satan, maybe.
I hope so.
Gru.
Oh, Gru's awesome.
From the 80s. I don't know. We'll come up with something. But Mike Gale, next week it's your pick.
That's right.
So I can't wait to see what princess we're doing this week. Who's it going to be?
Guess what? Because we did Punisher this week, it gave me an idea to do perhaps more Punisher.
What?
But don't worry, it's not going to be a Punisher comic. It's a comic with the Punisher in it. Okay?
All right.
But it's also got Wolverine in it, and it's got Spider-Man.
What?
Have you ever heard of What The?
We're doing What The?
Yes! What The #1.
I used to buy What The.
Yeah, me too. I have like the first 5 issues.
Tell the kids what The was.
What The is basically Marvel's version of Mad Magazine. It's just, you know, parody versions of other characters done in a funny style, short stories, 1-page gags. It's awesome.
So now what year was this? Like, because this again was when I was a kid as well. So it was like 86, 85, 87, something like that.
I think 87, I think. Let me see here.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, 87.
Wait, let me see. Wait, no, 88.
Okay, so I was 13.
Yeah, this is the heyday, though, for me of collecting comics. This is...
Yeah, from like 11 to 15 was like the big window for comics. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, wow. How about that? What the? I totally forgot that existed until you said it.
Yeah, I was going through all my boxes, right? Because I'm doing the grand cleanup, right? But I've got to read them all before I get rid of them. So I came across this. I'm like, oh, we got to slot this in. This is great. I haven't read this in like 30 years. So.
What's on the cover?
It's Spider-Man hanging upside down, he's eating graham crackers. And Wolverine is roasting marshmallows over Human Torch's head.
Okay. Yes, this is bringing back memories.
I also just copied and pasted it into the chat for you if you want to look at it.
Oh, well, I just Googled it up, so I'm looking at it now.
And then Hulk is sitting like in a business suit. He's like, union rules, don't you know? And then in the background, you see She-Hulk eating a sandwich. And way in the background, you see Punisher like knitting whatever it is.
Yeah, all right. Yes, I do remember this. I'm sure I own this.
Yeah. So there you go, another episode of Flea Market Fantasy. Every week we do a different Bronze Age comic. One week it's Mike Dell's pick, the next week it's my pick. You can find all of our episodes on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, under Comic Book Syndicate. You can also follow Comic Book Syndicate on Twitter, on Facebook, on our YouTube channel, as well as the Comic Book Syndicate website. So until next Tuesday, disperse!